I'm Robin Shepner, Managing Owner and current CEO of American Tinning Galvanizing in Erie, Pennsylvania. This year is a special year for us because it marks 80 years on the same corner, 12th and Cherry, in downtown Erie, an important part of the industrial corridor of this manufacturing city. American Tinning Galvanizing was started in 1931 by my grandfather, Fred Carlson. He was actually a partner in another plating manufacturer here in Erie and decided to go out on his own. So he walked a few blocks east and rented a warehouse. With that, he started an early tinning operation, and during World War II expanded into electroplating. He was also chosen by the federal government to be part of the Zinc Rations Board during World War II and went on to become a founding member of the American Galvanizers Association. Fred turned the reins over to his brother Harry and later to my father Jack Shepner. My sister Kathleen has been a leader in the company, and I'm the fifth family member, third generation, to run this company at this same location. During the 50s and 60s, we expanded our processing into electroplating and anodizing, and we also started a fabrication division. My grandfather realized that everybody that was doing metal finishing needed both the tanks and the fixtures for the processing, so my father was enlisted to start the fabrication division. 50 years later, we are going strong, and many of our competitors are still our customers. Our processes have refined like our workspace over the years. We now have state-of-the-art temperature controllers in all our processing tanks, the very best in exhaust and heating systems, an excellent lab and monitoring facilities, and we have been certified by the National Aerospace Defense Contractors Accreditation Program, both for our quality systems and our chemical processing in 2 forms of electroplating and 2 forms of anodizing. This enables American Tinning to compete with other global manufacturers in the aerospace industry. And there are many local machine shops and engineering firms that are working with aerospace, and they can bring their products to us for finishing and keep it local right here in Erie. Here's an overview of our services offered by American Tinning Galvanizing. Our main thing, of course, is corrosion protection, which we do on aluminum, either through sulfuric anodizing or chromic acid anodizing. In steel, we feature electroplating, zinc and cadmium, or galvanizing, which is a molten zinc operation. We also have a fabrication division, which makes custom tanks, racks, baskets, hooks, moving carts, all kinds of apparatus that would be needed by the metal finishing industry. Our galvanizing department has been certified by the American Galvanizers Association as a master galvanizer, and our anodizing and plating departments have been certified for aerospace work. So what do all the things on this notebook have in common? These are things that all of us have in our everyday environment, things we use and touch every day. And the essence of all these is metal, and that if it's not properly protected, it'll end up looking like that. From chains to ice cream scoops, 3-ring binders, galvanized piping, office supplies, commercial and industrial fasteners, hinges, all of it made of metal, and without the proper treatment would soon be useless. Here at American Tinning, we use our knowledge and skill to put a corrosive-proof finish on aluminum and steel to make these things last and more user-friendly in your environment. We have different types of anodizing. We offer colors. Some of our work is commercial, like these extrusions for storefronts and window frames. We get into aerospace pieces that sometimes can have multiple processes like cadmium and anodizing because of the two different metals that are used in this. These are aero shafts. These are used in outdoor commercial use for pole line hardware. These are some of the components that build a cell tower. We also do a great deal of component shelving that is used in Lowe's and Walmart garden centers. All of our work in all departments is highly regulated and monitored. We have the very best in staff and equipment and have been certified by our governing agencies to provide the very best quality service. Our first step at American Tinning and Galvanizing is our galvanizing department. Here we take pieces of steel that are used mostly for outdoor use and put a molten zinc coating on them that will keep them from rusting. The parts that we're running today are used for roof drains, and they are made locally, steel castings. They're racked by one individual and put on a rope and pulley to go through the molten zinc process. American Tinning and Galvanizing is one of the only existing rope and pulley processors left in the country. What this advantage it gives us is that we are able to control very closely the thickness and the quality of the coating because each piece is handled individually. The steel is lowered into the zinc, which is 835 degrees. This kettle is 16 feet long by 6 feet deep and 4 feet wide. The operators are highly skilled and know just how long to quote-unquote cook the steel so that the galvanic process actually puts zinc into the substrate of the steel, thereby protecting it from the elements. As opposed to paint or other kinds of outdoor protection, galvanizing can last up to 20 years. So it's a very economical and durable process to use in outdoor use. As the parts are submerged into the molten zinc, they're covered with flux to make the zinc spread evenly over the surface. This is all manipulated by hand with wooden paddles. Again, this is part of our control in being able to give such a quality, smooth finish. These parts are coming out with the molten zinc, and the next process is the shakeout. During this couple of minutes, it's critical to the final smoothness and user-friendly ability of the product. He shakes the excess zinc off of the part, and then it is quenched in cool water. Finally, it goes to our inspection crew, and every piece of zinc product that comes through American Tinning is 100% inspected, so that when our customer takes it out onto a construction site or into the field, there's no extra zinc to be harmful to anybody's hands or anything else. Safety is a big factor in this area of the plant. Well, it is everywhere, but especially here because of the molten zinc. The guys wear a lot of protective clothing, gloves, face masks, glasses. We've got an excellent safety record, but anytime you're working around such hot material, it's always risky. These parts are going in dry, so they are the safest kind of product to process. Occasionally we have to clean our steel in an acid compound, and if there's any moisture on them that causes pops and bubbles, similar to if you put a drip of water onto a hot skillet. And that's when everybody gets real nervous. The main ingredient in the recipe taking place in this room is zinc. Behind me are the ingots that are used to melt into our molten zinc kettle. You're looking at several $100,000 worth of zinc ingot as it comes to us and is melted down for processing. We have become kind of experts in the commodities market as the price of zinc is dramatically affected by world events and supply and demand. Zinc is truly the most successful, the very best processed coating to use, whether it's electroplating or galvanizing for corrosion protection on steel. So we do the galvanizing in here with molten zinc, and we do the zinc plating in the other department, putting zinc on steel with electricity. One uses heat and one uses an electrochemical process. One of our main galvanizing customers is a fabricator of component shelving that's used in Walmart and Lowe's Garden Center. Behind me you can see a couple of the beams that are used for the structures. So all over the state, whether you're in Allentown or Philadelphia or Erie, chances are that the galvanized outdoor shelving came through this department in American Tinning and Galvanizing. This is our fabrication division, Carlson Erie. My grandfather, Fred Carlson, recognized in the early 50s that all of the people that do metal finishing like we do in American Tinning needed tanks for their solutions and racks to hold their parts. So he started Carlson Erie as a fabrication division for the metal finishing industry. He hired my dad to run it, and it's going on 50 years strong now. In this department we make the racks that are used for electroplating and for anodizing. Every rack is custom designed to fit the need of the customer with regard to the kind of processing and also to get the most volume possible during the submersion process. In this case you can see how these racks were designed for this product so that they can be hung in multiples and yet not touch each other, which would cause an arcing and a burning of the part. The racks are constructed with a metal frame and bronze hooks that are all individually bent and screwed and soldered to the frame. The hooks at the top of the frame are made of copper to conduct the electricity from the processing bar, from the rectifier, out to the end of the part to do the either electroplating or anodizing. Here's another example of a naked rack. This eventually will have a plastisol coating on it to protect the structure of the rack and allow only for the contact at the end. This one shows for electroplating the copper that is used for the spline, and again, very intricate pin usage so that the parts get the optimum exposure in the solutions and also the most volume per pass with the bar. This is a very specialized part of our business because of different metals that are used for different uses, and also that every rack has to be custom designed, especially if there are things like an inner bore that have to be plated down inside a tube or a bell, for example. In this area, the naked racks are given their protection. This is a plastisol coating which will keep the structure of the rack from getting plated or anodizing and degrading. The naked racks are submerged in a big tub of vinyl plastisol, which we call plastisol. It comes in either a black or green color, and you've seen those racks all through the shop in our different electroplating and anodizing processes. We also use a black color sometimes. And this shows what the naked rack will look like after it's been dipped and baked. This plastisol coating again protects the inner structure, and then we skin off the edges of the hooks so that the electrical current can travel from the hook to out through the ends to the part. Apply either the electroplating or the anodizing surfaces. This is our specialized masking department. Many of the product that comes through our anodizing department is used for aerospace. In this case, this little component has to be processed with clear anodizing and a gold allodyne surface, so that in the end it will look like this. Now the way that happens is the whole part has to be anodized, but this gold area has to be masked off, and even behind these little flanges. It goes in for anodizing, it comes back out, and the masking is removed, and then the gold allodyne is placed only on those areas. Although it's hard to see, there is lead tape on these little flanges that protect it from the anodizing and leave the aluminum naked and ready to get the allodyne. Many of these processes are done to provide or retard conductivity and yet give the optimum protection to the aluminum from corrosion standpoint. So as small as and as insignificant as this little part may seem, it could be a vital component to an engine or a brake system or something like that. We don't often know where our parts end up in aerospace planes and other apparatus, but they're all very critical. The tolerance on most of the aerospace parts is measured in 10,000ths of an inch. Most specifications require between 2 and 5 10,000ths of an inch deposit. As you can see, this is a very labor-intensive job, but it produces a perfect product that can be confidently used by the customer in building the systems that they need for the airplane. Welcome to anodizing. This is where we put corrosion protection on aluminum. Because of its light weight and strength, aluminum is used in a myriad of aerospace applications. Everything from these tiny little spacers to big component housings for brake systems. It's used for engines, braking systems, the hydraulic systems. When aluminum parts are put on a rack, it's essential that there's a very tight contact. So these little clothespin hooks, we call them, have to have a tension. They also have to be very careful in racking in this department because aluminum is soft and it can easily scratch. So there's two things. They have to have a tight and solid connection so that these small fragile parts don't float off the racks, but also be careful not to mar the surface in any way and make the customer unhappy. After these parts are racked, they then go into our processing line, which includes a variety of cleaners, and we do two types of anodizing here. Sulfuric acid anodizing, which is the most common. It provides a nice clean silver appearance, and chromic acid anodizing, which provides a sort of a yellowish, kind of a gray film to the aluminum. After clear parts are anodized, they can also be dyed a number of different colors. We offer olive drab, blue, red, green, black, and a yellow chromate. Although most of the aluminum pieces that come through our company are rather small, we do some larger applications, such as these castings. We also do a lot of railing and window frame extrusions for commercial applications, storefronts, and the construction industry. So we have what we would call our commercial accounts, and then we have our specialized aerospace. American Tinning and Galvanizing is certified by NADCAP, which is the National Aerospace Defense Contractors Accreditation Program, in both sulfuric and chromic acid anodizing, which enables us to do specialized work for this aerospace industry. This is a caustic etch. This is actually the part of the cleaning process on these castings. It removes any of the oil or compounds that could have been used in making the casting or machining the casting. And once it's got a clean, smooth surface, then it's ready to go into the anodizing tank and have the corrosion protection applied. It's very important that none of the cleaning solutions be transported into the processing tanks. The reason that we can guarantee such fine finishes in terms of 10,000ths of an inch is because the processing tanks are highly controlled. The amount of electricity, the temperature of the solution, the concentration of the acids, all of these variables are closely monitored and regulated. So in this case, he's making sure that these parts are completely rinsed and a perfectly clean part is put into the processing tank. Okay, a lot of our customers will request that we do a color on their parts. This could be for a cosmetic application for the customer. We do things like door hardware and cabinetry hardware that they may want a black or gold. And in this case, the customer requests a color so that they can keep these parts separate from other parts. So it's a cosmetic identification. The dye is impregnated into the surface of the metal so that it is permanent.
I'd write it out. Pretty good, girl.
So again, these parts have been clear sulfuric acid anodized and now are being given a cosmetic dye job so that they can be distinguished from other parts. Now the operators will put the parts back in a tank of a hot water seal to seal up the surface and make it permanent on the part. This is our electroplating room. This is the high volume room in American Tinning and Galvanizing. Literally hundreds of thousands of parts go through this facility every year. This is where we take machined objects like this that have been threaded and cut and bored and turn them into practical, user-friendly, and corrosion-protected hydraulic and pipe fittings. We also do a lot of aerospace work in here in terms of very specialized components for brake systems and into some very big pieces that are used for, again, valves and hose fittings. These pieces come in, they usually have a lot of shavings left on them from the work and perhaps oil. We clean them up, put on a zinc plating coat and a chromate for extra protection, and they go out into the sales market looking shiny and ready to work. Not all of our work is small. These big panels are used in cabinets for electrical components made here in Erie. This cabinetry is fabricated and welded locally and brought to us for electroplating and, again, protection from rust. Right now it's going into the first of several cleaning steps, and then it will be transferred to the zinc plating line where it gets a very thin coat of zinc. Our other zinc protection was the galvanizing department. In that case, the galvanizing is molten zinc applied up to 1 mil in thickness. In this department, the zinc coating is just several 10,000ths. Again, those very fine numbers. Much of our work is highly regulated, and we need very close tolerances. These panels are one of our commercial customers, but in electroplating we also do have the aerospace work that requires all the careful monitoring and documentation to make it acceptable for the aerospace industry and the military. The parts are put on racks, which are then hung on copper bars. And as you can see here, the bars are nestled into a copper saddle, and the electricity is turned on, transfers from the bar down the spine of the rack into the part to activate the process. In this case, it's an electro-cleaning process. Where electricity is used as a catalyst to activate the solutions and give the optimum clean surface. Okay. Another key component in finishing the part and making sure that the plating is of the best quality is having the parts sufficiently dried. We don't want any of the moisture from the tank to stay on the part, as it could cause staining. So each piece that travels through our processing line goes through a stringent and very thorough blowing off process to eliminate all the moisture. A clean part is absolutely essential to good plating. If there's any oil, scale, even oils from fingers can cause a staining in the part or an imperfection in the finish. Like the actual electroplating process, this is highly regulated in terms of the concentration of the solutions, the amount of heat, the amount of immersion time. All of the critical factors are monitored, recorded, and looked after by our staff. The parts you're looking at now have been adequately zinc plated. They're in a hot water rinse to remove the plating solution. And when he takes those out, he's going to be putting them into a gold chromate. Again, a lot of our customers are requesting colors on the final chromating finish, more for the cosmetics than anything. Water is a critical component in electroplating and anodizing, so that there's no transference of any of the chemicals from one tank to another. So there is multiple rinses. As the moisture is removed from the part, and the chromate starts to cure on the surface, the gold color becomes ever more evident. In the electroplating process, the racking is not nearly as tedious as it is in anodizing. All we have to do is make sure there's a good contact, but steel is more durable, so we don't have to worry so much about scratching. On our aerospace parts, and oftentimes with highly polished, we do show a lot of care in racking, but this is more of a high volume and a faster pace in this department. Another form of electroplating that can be done instead of racking the parts is to use a barrel. These are plastic barrels that are gear driven. The parts tumble inside the barrel with what are called danglers, which is a exposed copper wire that transfers the electricity from the rectifier into the solution and is activated on the parts. This is especially useful in high volume commercial work where very fine tolerances are not needed and where a large volume is required. Because we don't have to individually put these on a rack, it's a much more efficient process where one person can process a number of parts in a shorter period of time. This again is zinc electroplating. When it comes out of the zinc, it will be a clear silver color, and it is then immersed in a chromate for additional protection. That chromate can be either gold or clear. This is the interior of one of the plating barrels. These are what are called the danglers, an exposed copper cable that transfers the electricity from the rectifier into the solution and allows for the electrode deposit onto the parts. The final treatment after the electroplating is a series of rinses and a bright dip and then a clear chromate. This work is done by hand in small baskets, which allows for proper manipulation to make sure that the parts are thoroughly rinsed. Now he'll watch his time in a clear chromate. And one final rinse. And into a spinner to dry off the parts. Again, this is very efficient because one person can do a large quantity of parts in a very short period of time. At American Tinning and Galvanizing, in our metal finishing division, we don't make any products, but we put finish on products that you use every day. In your cars, in your transportation, in your homes, in all kinds of industry. We've got the final say on the finish. One of the best parts of American Tinning and Galvanizing is our culture. We've got a terrific group of loyal and dedicated employees, many of whom have been with us for many years. When I took over in 2004, we had 42 employees, and over 50% of them had 20 years or more experience. Today our employee workforce has grown to over 60, and we've got a great group of people who are very dedicated to our NADCAP and galvanizing certifications and great customer service. Thanks for coming to Erie and to visit American Tinning and Galvanizing. We hope you enjoyed your tour.